This is Weaponized. Where the hell are we, Jeremy?
We are in a non-disclosed location because we got a party tonight. You and I are going to, I know you hate these, but we're going to do a Q&A for the premiere of a 3-part series that if people haven't watched, they should watch. It's on TUBI. I got followed for almost a year trying to fight for these hearings and seeing where it's going.
3-part series. The whole UFO world is talking about it, debating about it, complaining about it, whining about it, cheering for it, as usual. Yeah. And I've seen it, and gosh, I can't let you out of my sight for 1 minute. You're stirring up trouble. You go to Washington and stir up a whole bunch of trouble.
Yeah, I'm super threatening, apparently. Yeah, man, look, people need to watch it and decide for themselves what they're seeing. I think there's a lot of information in that series. To the best of my ability, I'm telling it like I know it, like I understand it. There's a lot of great things that happened at the hearing. You know, having Lou Elizondo under oath so the American public can decide, do we trust him? That was important to me. I trust Lou. I think when he goes up there and tries to tell you how it is, I believe that's how it is. So I think having him under oath was important. And I did fight for that to get Lou to testify, which wasn't easy. There are some shenanigans, and they're very disturbing to me. Like, having experienced it, I am concerned that the UAP truth has been controlled for so long, and now we're at a point where we're admitting it. You can't take back that David Grush testified. You can't take back that Commander Fravor testified under oath in front of the American public. But that was a sneak attack. This hearing was not. It was controlled. It was managed. It was a setup in some ways. And it's not all bad. But why I'm concerned is because if you have something that's out of control, we now know UFOs are real, they're here, a lot of questions coming, then what you want to do is shape it. You want to control it. I am very concerned that people are being put into position of authority so that they can shape the narrative again. And that is really my biggest gripe. If people watch this series, they can judge for themselves, but that is my concern. I'll be very clear about it. All the king's horses and all the king's men are shaping the UAP narrative again.
That's the thing, is that, you know, for 75, 80 years, the problem has been the limited amount of credible information has been controlled, stigmatized, dribbled out, twisted and turned by the people who control this stuff, the keepers of the secrets. Now, at a moment when it seems that the stigma is reduced, that Congress is interested, major media are taking it seriously, academia is digging in, suddenly there's a new control system that's about to be imposed on it. And although it may look like transparency, a congressional hearing, an open hearing, it's something else. And I know we're going to get into this a little bit later. We're going to hear questions from the public in this episode. At the end, though, I want to come back to a couple of things that I've seen raised on social media, our usual critics, and address some of the remaining questions.
Sure. Yeah, look, people being ordained and put into position for you to go to as a whistleblower or direct firsthand knowledge about UAP, you have to make sure you trust them. They can't be bought. They can't be influenced. They need to be pure reporters and journalists. I am very scared that people are being ordained and put into position as filters for information. I think that's dangerous for whistleblowers. I absolutely directly saw that is dangerous for the author of the Immaculate Constellation documents, who I walked into congressional offices for meetings so they could see eye to eye months before the hearings, before that was known to the public. I did that not only to vet the witness, the author of Immaculate Constellation, but also, you know, to have that person show their face. Here's my information. This is coming out. And then to see the way that when I submitted that onto congressional record by design, I made sure that I got right there at that morning was the final copy that would be distributed, to see how bureaucratically that was twisted by the people controlling that narrative. If they'll lie about that, Houston, we got a big fucking problem.
Let's hear the question, the Q&A from the public,
okay,
and from our journalist friend, and then we'll come back. There are a couple of loose ends that I want to address and tie up with you. Jeremy said, hey, we're going to record a podcast. I got a couple of friends coming over.
I underplayed it.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Thank you for everybody for coming out. And I have so many questions after finishing that. But the first one I want to start with is, what was the difference between the first congressional hearing and the second congressional hearing? You've used the word controlled to describe the second one, and I'm curious, did anything happen in between those two hearings that changed the layout of the landscape?
Well, the first one felt like a genuine, sincere effort to gather information, to do what Congress is supposed to do, to look into this. And it was sort of a opening curtain for what we hoped would be a long and fruitful investigation for Congress to do its duty and find out where billions and billions of dollars of legitimate national security dollars have been spent over the years, and to ferret out secrets that have been kept under the wraps for a long time. It felt hopeful. This one didn't feel hopeful. I was encouraged by what Lou said. Jeremy and I wasn't really in that episode, but for months talking to congressional staffers in setting this up, and Jeremy did so much work to help members of Congress and their staff make this happen, getting Lou there. We were also involved in the earlier hearing, to line up witnesses that would really make an impact. And it wasn't an ego thing. It wasn't for a TV show. It was really to move the ball down the field on the UFO issue. This one had a different feel. I wasn't able to be there. Jeremy and I were in contact the whole time, and he was telling me what was going on. It was hard to believe what had happened. I don't know if you get the importance of that whole document, the Immaculate Constellation document. It wasn't a matter of Jeremy needs to have credit for submitting it to Congress. I almost think it's a lucky break that it happened that way.
Yeah.
Because it was a tell. It was like flipping up your whole card to show what was going on. And maybe we can get into what it meant, but it was a lesson in the new reality for the UFO topic. And I think what's happening is a changing of the guard. We think, and I think Danny Sheehan would agree to us and with this and other people that might be in the audience, that there really is technology, non-human technology, and bodies stashed in hangars or bunkers, and it's been there for a long time. And aerospace companies have been trying to figure it out, and they haven't mastered it yet. I don't think so. They haven't got anti-gravity. They've been trying, but because of the secrecy and the stovepipes, they can't let enough people know that where you could really have some serious progress. And it's maybe their time is up. But what's happening, I think, what came out of this hearing is the changing of the guard is there's a push to move that technology wherever it's stashed into the hands of other companies, other individuals. Do you want to go further than that?
Yeah, look, the hearing thing, here's the deal. George and I were talking. I was calling him for a pep talk before the thing. The first one was authentic. It was David Grush. We had vetted him for a year. We sat behind him in Congress because we knew what he was saying was authentic. This new hearing was absolutely controlled. I didn't understand it at the time. I'm still kind of experiencing it on the TV. I told George, this feels weird. It's as if people are, the toothpaste is out of the tube, as people say, like they can't put it back in, but they're trying to shape the emerging UAP narrative. That's a line from a CIA document. Shape, this way for you, shape the emerging UAP narrative. That's what's going on. Again. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I know we got some people coming forward. I know people are pissed off, and I know we're going to do our best. The first one was a sneak attack. The second one, it was like controlled. It was really weird.
And let's go into the importance of Nancy Mace saying what she said, and what is the overall impact? What impact does it have on whistleblowers? And do you think this makes whistleblowers now afraid or motivated to come out?
A lot of whistleblowers will be coming forward because of what happened.
I mean, it was weird. You all saw it. It was in real time. The cameras were there. It's pretty clear what happened. And it's not a trivial matter. Jeremy had taken this particular witness into 3 of those congressional offices months ago. So they knew what was coming. We had had conversations with the guy, how he wanted the information to come forward. He entrusted Jeremy with this document. We had gone over line by line with that guy, what the contents were. And there was a promise of how it was going to be handled, and then that promise was broken. And it's for reasons that, I was kind of hinting about it. I think it has reasons to do with people who give a lot of money to members of Congress. And again, this changing of the guard thing of where that technology is going to end up and whose hands are going to be all over it and trying to exploit it.
Now, George, you also had an incredible series that was released this year, and you were able to travel around the globe. And so I'm curious, do other nations, are their governments operating in a similar way, or do you anticipate foreign whistleblowers coming forward? Are they more open, or are they as closed?
I think most of our closest allies take their cues from us. The Department of Defense doesn't want this stuff out. The people who are really the keepers of the secrets do not want it out. They've kept the lid on it for a long time. They've intimidated witnesses. They've spied on UFO researchers. They've infiltrated UFO organizations. They've withheld information, locked out things in FOIA requests. They've been dishonest with the public for a long time. That's really what got me involved in the topic a long time ago, and probably what fuels Jeremy's interest as well, is they lied to us. And it's provable and demonstrable. And I think that they put pressure on other governments. One example would be in this Netflix series you're talking about, Investigation Alien, we went to Colares. That story about Colares has been floating around a long time, that UFOs came out of the water and out of the sky and attacked natives in these out-of-the-way communities with laser beams for ungodly reasons, unknown reasons, and it seemed to be an outlier in the history of UFOs. And it is. There were real injuries. The story that's been told here and elsewhere is that the Brazilian Air Force came in, did a brief investigation. They stashed all the stuff in some secret program and kept it bottled up for a number of years, and some of it got out. Some of it ended up in Las Vegas with the Bigelow organization, the VAS DIA program. But really, the public's concept of what happened in Colares turned out to be wrong. The laser beams, as we heard from these witnesses who were directly involved, who were in the initial stories that appeared in newspapers all over the world, they were hit with beams of light, but there was a filament in these beams, and it took blood and tissue samples. There were several hundred people who ended up in the hospital, and the doctors looked at them and thought they were anemic because they'd lost so much blood. It was a sampling operation. It wasn't an attack. The people that were on the ground who've come forward to talk about it, including some of the military guys, said that they had videos and photos of these giant craft coming out of the river and just sitting there. And where that film went, it didn't go to Bigelow and the DIA. We have a pretty good idea where it did end up. But, there is some really strong evidence from that case. Hundreds of people injured. Now, 40 years later or so, they see it in a much different way. They were terrified at the time, but they realized it was some kind of a non-violent, although not pleasant, sampling operation, and they're okay with it. That was an eye-opener for me.
And when it comes to the Immaculate Constellation document, I'm curious if maybe you want to explore some of the things that were said in there. I know they talked about orbs being maybe the most prevalent. There was an interesting situation of it using clouds as cover, which shows some form of intelligence or communication, and F-22 being surrounded by craft. I'm wondering if you could talk about some of the things in that document that stood out to you.
I believe the Immaculate Constellation information is legitimate. And I think you need to decide for yourself. But there is footage of that. There is footage of what you just said.
I didn't answer your question before. I'm sorry to go back to this, but I got off on a tangent. Us old people do that. The Brazilian Air Force gathered a great deal of information and evidence and kept it locked up for a long time. And I think they did it at the behest of the U.S. government. They released some of it. I'm pretty sure that they haven't released all of it, or that we haven't released all of it. But our government leans on other governments. And I think other governments have shown that they are more inclined to release information and to be more open with their public. Several governments around the world have released all their files, or at least the least sensitive ones. And I think we are largely responsible for that. I think the best evidence ends up being scooped up by our government and stashed who knows where. That means materials, maybe bodies. If you've seen James Fox's Margina film, I think that's pretty good evidence that some kind of a collection operation goes on all over the world. We are the primary reason that this secret is being kept, other than them, whoever they are.
And a big topic in the public lately has been the drones, which have now seemingly almost disappeared from media without anybody being given an explanation officially of where they come from, what they are. I'm curious if you guys want to talk about that a little bit and maybe confirm, were some of these the size of SUVs? Were some of these able to go underwater and be submersible? What information have you guys been given?
Yeah, look, we are people on an island as journalists. Like, I can tell you for sure that contacts of mine and George's have said to us that they proved to us that objects have come out of the water that are pyramid shaped, that hover over nuclear facilities. It's insane. I don't know what our government is going to say. I don't know what our president is going to say. I don't know anything. But bottom line is, you've been told that something weird is going on, but you have not been given an answer for it. You deserve an answer. Like, your government is supposed to represent you. So I don't know what's going to happen with this UAP drone thing, but you all know it's weird, right? Yeah.
It's like ufology 101. 90 to 95% of everything that's reported is explainable in prosaic terms. That's just the basic fact. And I think that's true for these drones as well. Every single day, if you follow Twitter or Facebook, and the emails I get are hundreds and hundreds of videos and images that people have collected. Oh gosh, there's a UFO drone, mystery drone. And most of them, I'm not an image analyst, I don't pretend to have any expertise, but we've been around the topic long enough that we can scratch some things off the list. And they look like airplanes to me. A lot of the things that people are saying are mystery drones, and then some of them look like drones. A lot of them are just blobs in the sky moving around. You can't tell what they are. But the reports that we've had from credible people of them over nuclear plants and over missile bases, military bases. Langley, 17 days in a row last year. Then the 3 bases in the UK, very sensitive installations. These things come from nowhere. You can't track them. You don't see them coming in. They disappear to nowhere. You can't track them to see where they go. That's a big, serious matter. They don't have to be alien to be frightening. Imagine if the Chinese actually do have drones that do this, that can hover over our sensitive installations, and there's not a damn thing we could do about it. We have pretty good information from the UK bases that they tried to take them down. They used EMP and our most sophisticated anti-drone tech, and it did nothing. Now, who's got that tech? If it's the Chinese or the Russians, it's way worse than it's aliens. It's way worse.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris Sharp. He's a UK journalist. You know, you saw him in maybe episode 1 and 2, worried about me and George. I'm worried about Chris Sharp because, you know, he's working in the UK system where journalists don't have as much protection. I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that we're at a breaking point. We're at a breaking point because whistleblowers are coming forward, and we wouldn't be putting it out if it wasn't something we believed in.
The use of drones as sort of a blanket explanation for strange stuff in the sky is, we were just joking about it a couple of months ago, but it's Dronapalooza. It's drones as the new swamp gas. Is that, you know, that's what you hear. Oh, it's just drones. You know, 2019 off the west coast of the U.S., 10 U.S. Navy warships are buzzed by 100 different objects over several days at night, and they don't know where they came from. They don't know where they went to. Just drones. Well, one of those drones was captured on this thermal image, the USS Omaha image. That thing is round, 14 feet across. It followed the USS Omaha for an hour, and after doing that, it went into the water. The radar information that Jeremy obtained shows the screen with 14 of these things all around the ship. Sometimes they come in and they disappear from radar, then they go away. The US government tried to explain that as drones launched from some cargo ship. It was bullshit. It wasn't. We had agents on the ground on that ship as soon as it got docked at Long Beach.
Yeah, and we talked with them in the FBI. We made sure that the information was correct. It's crazy what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, well, drones become the new explanation for everything strange in the sky. It must be just drones. Well, if those really are Chinese drones, that's a really big problem. And it's not a legitimate explanation for the kinds of things that people have been seeing in the sky for a long time. It's almost karma. You want to call them drones? Here, we got some drones for you. How do you like them over New Jersey?
You guys have been covering this topic for a long time. You've seen a lot of changes, a lot of things happen. Jeremy, when I first spoke with you, you were very calm, cool, collected. You said, I am the least paranoid person you'll ever meet.
Right.
You felt great. And then an episode of Weaponized came out where you guys discussed a dead man's switch as an insurance policy.
Yes.
It seemed like things got a little bit heated.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how that felt. Were you ever nervous? Are there concerns for your family, things like that? Or where were you at, and why was this so different?
I don't want to talk about how I feel. So yeah, it's look, the idea that what is going on, people need to look at the information and see that this is, I have a joke, all the king's horses and all the king's men want to shape the UAP narrative again. But that's real. That's true. That's a mandate. Mark my words one last time. Shape the emerging UAP narrative. With David Grush, with Commander Fravor, with Ryan Graves in the first hearing, it was a sneak attack. It was me and Tim Burchett, man, we were high-fiving. We got this shit out. It was crazy. And all of a sudden, everybody swooped in. For 2.5 months, I was under scrutiny with national security people on the Vimeo or whatever, on the video calls, trying to figure out mine and George's sources. This shit got crazy. So how do I, your question was, how do I feel? What's the difference, right? I am the least paranoid person that you've ever met. I am. I've just had experiences that show me that people are trying to shape the narrative. George and I are trying our best to get information out there.
The question would be maybe, is intimidation and threats real? Are people killed for UFO secrets? And I don't know. I mean, you hear these stories in ufology here and there. When we've tried to track them down, I've never actually confirmed somebody who was killed because of this. But the intimidation is real. That's real. Surveillance is real. Tapping of phones is real. And the mind games that happen. That episode that was shown in this series, in the finale of the series, that was real. We met this guy in a park, what we thought in another state, that we thought it was going to be okay. See this odd vehicle. It's the only one in the park that's there ahead of us. You know what? Let's move somewhere else. We go, 15 minutes away, go to this pizza place, park on a side street. That damn car is right behind us when we came out. They didn't mind us knowing what they were doing. It was meant to intimidate. Would the secret keepers murder somebody to keep the secret? I don't know, but they've done some pretty shady stuff. Look what they did to Dave Gross. They leaked these personal records about mental health stuff and episodes in his personal life. Bob Lazar, we saw that a long time ago with him, and it gets real. That stuff is real.
Do you ever think about taking a step back when those moments happen? Is there any hesitancy from either one of you?
I was trying to take a step back. I tried to retire.
They pulled me right back in. I don't know, man. I mean, my wife hates it. Why do I got a fucking Cybertruck with a UFO plate? I'm an idiot, probably. Why do I let Marianne come up to me at fucking Bacali's and hang out with you? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, definitely I pulled him back in. But the thing is, what are you going to do? You got to push forward. You got to try. Yeah, it sucks when it spills over to family. It sucks. You'd imagine in America, you could do journalism without the preoccupation of, fear. I don't know. We're in a new era. I don't know what's going to happen, Grant. You're a journalist too. We have to fight for this.
And I want to talk about the big lie at the end of this series.
Fuck.
I know before you had mentioned in our article that one of the greatest things our government could do is fake a UFO attack. Is this something similar when you talk about this lie? Would you care to expand on it, or what would you be maybe willing to share to give some context and perspective to it?
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong. Bottom line is, this is being said. So the idea is, we have to say it now. If we don't say it now, then we're just kind of like participating in the bullshit. Is it true? I fucking hope not.
One of the good things is the level of public interest in the topic. Danny Sheehan has been at this longer than I have. You've seen it ebbs and flows. There are peaks and valleys, and from 2017 on, the progress that's been made is unimaginable compared to the glacial pace of progress 50 years prior to that. You can go on, you can do a UFO story here and there, an expose, somebody like Bob Lazar, and it makes a little dent here and there, but this is like a tectonic thing, the change that has happened since 2017. Every single day, Jeremy and I get pounded by people who are UFO enthusiasts who just don't think the progress is fast enough. Look, I'm not reading any more of these tweets until I see a body. I don't want to hear any more UFO interviews. I don't want to hear about any UFO whistleblowers until you open the hangar doors. There's the saucer. That's what I'm waiting for. I want it delivered to my door with a sandwich. And every day. 500 times a day, every single fucking day. My response is, well, get to it. I mean, you don't need a license to investigate this stuff. We don't have security clearances. You want to go get it? Go get it. The level of interest among the public since that New York Times story and all the things that have happened since then is through the roof. And it's not just here. That Netflix thing I did, holy crap. I thought my email was crazy before. It's 3 hours every day just to read them, not even answer them. From Morocco and Tanzania and Tasmania and Iceland and Ireland and India and Costa Rica and Brazil and Chile and everywhere. People want to tell their story and share their information, and they want somebody to take them seriously. And there's so many millions of Americans who feel the same way. It's a special time. It's a great time to continue the push forward. But man, the people that have kept this secret bottled up for a long time are really good at their job. They're better at their job than we are at ours. Can't give up. You have to keep trying.
Yeah. Yeah, hold on. Before you do crazy questions, Lester Nair, where are you? Yeah, Lester's in episode 1 and 2, I think. You're amazing, man. Thank you so much for fighting the UFO thing. And I don't know if we really explained, but Danny, you were involved with the Pentagon Papers and litigating all of that shit back in the day. So if you're not a CIA plant, then you are a good guy. And we need your help, buddy. Because this UFO thing, it's a cover-up. We have craft of unknown origin that outpaces, outmaneuvers, and outperforms anything that we have. And our military service members are seeing it. Not only are they seeing it, but they're seeing the cover-up of it. We don't want to admit it. So this is part of the problem. This is part of why George and I are fighting to kind of get this information out. It got a lot deeper than that. But bottom line, we need you, man. We need everybody to fight for this. Because whatever the truth is, let's figure it out together, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now I want to ask too, you both had a series, Investigation Alien, UFO Revolution. You guys usually are the incredible tag team working together, but now you split up and covered twice as much. Favorite part of each series? What stood out to you, George, watching UFO Revolution, and Jeremy? What stands out from Investigation Alien?
Oh, that episode 3, that smackdown of a couple of members of Congress was pretty good. It wasn't subtle at all. It was like a...
Thanks,
It was
Ryan.
like take their clothes off and spank them.
From George's series, what really hit me was that I'm the last one to know when he makes a discovery. It's a great series. You guys got to watch it, man.
And George, how surprised were you that on tape your crew was able to capture something that went into the water and you're able to see it in real time? And how does that feel? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that was amazing. So we send a boat with this experienced underwater archaeologist, Rory Kremer, with a crew out into Channel Islands in the area generally around Catalina, where people keep seeing things coming in and out of the water. We're looking for what's on the bottom of the ocean. Is there a structure down there, some hidden base? Is there something that would explain why these things keep popping in and out? And these guys have these cameras fitted on the side of the boat, and this thing shows up. The first time, it was like a little
toying performance. It comes out of nowhere and it sits there and then it goes boom, backwards at an incredible speed. The guys turn around to look at this camera and say, did you see that? And just as they're saying it, it came back and it's right over their shoulder. Holy shit. They all eventually go to sleep and leave these cameras running. And then this thing, a thing, comes back and it comes from way up high, comes into the shot, kind of hovers there for a second, as if it's a display. And it goes right down to just a couple of inches off the ocean, thinking, is that thing going to go in the water? And it's kind of toying, teasing. Boom, goes into the water, and then you can see the light moving around. And, people have asked, well, we must have made that up. We must have staged it. We didn't. They didn't even see that video until 2 weeks later when they got back. Nobody saw it that night. It's an editor that was looking through all the raw footage and sees, holy crap, you guys got a USO here. So it was a great surprise and a great experience, and makes me want to get another boat and go out there again.
I was so protective of George when he showed me the footage. I'm like, they're trying to fuck with you. The government's trying to fuck with you. They set up the thing. The fucking Netflix is trying to fuck with you. But like after I analyzed it, looked through it, and sent it to some people, I was like, holy shit, that might be the first USO filmed by civilians in history. It was so cool. You should definitely check it out. I'm so grateful to be working with George. I mean, look, it's fun as fuck. I'm not going to complain to you that it's not fun. We have a great time together. I think it's going to be a really exciting year. There's a lot of stuff coming at us. George and I can't even keep up. We can't even keep up with what's going on. But we do know that this is a moment of opportunity, and I hope we take it. And we'll see if that happens.
It is. It's an exciting time.
Yeah.
As I said, now the level of public interest here and all over the world, it's an exciting time.
Yeah.
And it'd be a shame to let this moment pass, because it will pass eventually, maybe. And and the fact is, we keep doing this stuff and working on this because it is fun. It's damn fun to work on this mystery. It's the biggest question in human history, and it's fun as a news story. And it's hard to go back to covering City Hall and crime and murders after you do a UFO thing for 38 years or so.
Yeah, after that, this guy, what's the fucking question?
First of all, thank you so much for what you presented tonight. There's no question that, in this incredible universe, there's got to be some extraterrestrial life. So here's my question.
Big question coming. Here we go. I love it. Hit me, fucker.
Ship coming in 2 years.
No.
2027.
So people don't understand. I was saying that's the lie.
Okay.
So you got to watch it again, replay the tape. Look, man, if that's true, we're all fucked. I don't know, brother. I know there's a 1970s document that tries to tell you that's what's happening. I don't believe it for a second. So
Follow up's question: why do you think the government is trying to hide the fact that these extraterrestrials exist?
yeah.
Well, we don't know for sure they're extraterrestrials. Alien is sort of a generic term. I don't use them interchangeably. Non-human intelligence. There are a lot of possibilities. I personally think that they live here, that they've been here a long time, but I don't know where they're from. Maybe they were here before us, but why the government would keep it a secret? First and foremost would be national security stuff. There's a race for that technology. We're trying to get it. We're trying to figure it out and replicate it. The Russians are, the Chinese, maybe the Israelis. I don't know, other governments around the world maybe as well. There have been crashes in other parts of the world. The first nation to get that technology and master it and reproduce it, you win. So that's, I don't know how you separate the national security concerns from that basic fact. Friends of ours in the intelligence apparatus have told us you can't tell your friends without telling your enemies. So do you reveal where you are in the race for the technology? Do you admit you've got it and haven't figured it out yet? Do you want to let China know where you are in that race? I think that's hard to get around. Secondly, we don't really know what the truth is. People say, I'm ready for the truth. I can handle the truth. We don't know what the truth is because, there are those who think that maybe the ultimate secret is pretty disturbing. There might be an angle, a religious angle that would drive people over the edge, that they live here among us. They can see everything we do. They're like Santa Claus. They know when you've been bad or good. They see you when you're sleeping, in the shower, in the bathroom. They're separated from us by some dimensional membrane. I think there are folks who would have trouble with that. That they created religious figures, that would be trouble. That they've manipulated our DNA, that they created us. Or that we're an agricultural product, that they're here to harvest us to some degree. Or as Bob Lazar read in some document long ago, that they're interested in our souls. They see us as containers of souls. Can you imagine how people would freak the hell out about that? We don't know what the truth is. I don't know anybody who does. I know a lot of people have ideas about it. We've been pretty far up the food chain in terms of contacting people who think they know, but I've never met anybody who knows for sure. And I'll tell you, anybody who claims they know for sure is full of crap.
George's been at this longer than me. Why is this important? I mean, I have an answer, but I want to hear yours, man.
I mean, it's, I remember having the first conversation with my news director after meeting Lazar. We don't know what to make of this. Is this stuff true? Crash saucers, reverse engineering. But if it is true, it'd be the biggest news story in history. So I've always looked at it, it's not my religion, it's a news story. And good gosh, if it was true and you could prove it, that they had these craft out in the Nevada desert trying to take them apart to figure out how they work, that is just about as big a story as you're ever going to get. Confirmation of another intelligence, whether it's from out there or interdimensional, or it's us as time travelers. I think it's always been important, but maybe we're at a point now where we can understand it. We're on the cusp of widespread AI use. Maybe they wanted to get us to this point so we can communicate with them on a semi-equal level. I mean, whoever they are, they're so far ahead of us. It's amazing they pass any attention at all. Maybe they're more interested in the planet than they are in us. But, from the testimony of people all over the world who've had these close encounters, they do seem to care about humans. They have an interest in what we do to each other. They tell us over and over, these alien editorials, take care of your planet. Quit poisoning the world you live in. Knock it off with the nuclear weapons. Trying to get us to pay attention that, they care about the planet too, and maybe they live here, but they do care about us. We have a unique opportunity because of the level of public interest, the level of media interest, and until this hearing, the level of honest congressional interest to make a difference. It has to be here. We have to do it because, as I mentioned before, I think the U.S. uses its influence to pressure our allies to keep a muzzle on this. I don't know how the world would react if Russia or China are the one to make the announcement, but it should be us.
So whatever is happening on the big scale, on the big time scale, I think we can handle it. There are people that don't want you to know. The fact is, this has been happening for a long time, as you've kind of highlighted, Millennial. It's happened for a long time. Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen next, but I just know that if we keep being honest, we keep being open, we keep talking about it, I don't know. It's, we're going to learn something. I don't know.
2025, there's a new administration. There's a lot of changes coming up. Do you have any expectations for maybe potential disclosure? And when it comes to who people can they trust Arrow? Can they trust Congress? Who can they trust, or are we on our own?
Fuck, you take this. I don't
Well, until recently, I would have said you could trust at least the animated members of Congress who are actively interested in the topic. I'm not so sure right now. Can we trust Arrow? Obviously not. I think there is a changing of the guard at Arrow. We'd like to give the new guy, Kozlowski, a benefit of the doubt. People that we know speak of him with high regard, that he's not another Sean Kirkpatrick. I hope that is the case. We've heard those kinds of things before. We've also heard things before about disclosure. Oh yeah, it's right around the corner. Here it comes. Carter's going to do it, and President Ford's going to do it. Oh, President Reagan, he's deep into UFOs. He's going to do it. Bill Clinton is deep into UFOs. He's going to do it. Still waiting, So promises of disclosure are a dime a dozen. I don't believe any of them. But there are some interesting. Look, I'll admit I'm not happy about Trump being the next president. I think his interest in the topic is about that deep, but he has made some statements. I think I'd like to unleash some files. And people around him, more interestingly, have said some very dramatic things. His nominee for CIA has been pretty outspoken in saying, yeah, this is real. We need to get to the bottom of it. Marco Rubio is going to be his Secretary of State. He's been a leading force in the Senate in pushing this forward. He had all kinds of briefings behind closed doors before anybody here ever heard about it before. So I think there are some encouraging signs. Those are some of the people who be in key positions want it to happen. More importantly, the people who are behind the scenes, real power, real money, also seem to want it to happen. And if they can get their hands on the tech, maybe they'll make a breakthrough.
That was George Knapp's like silver lining. He said to me in the car right up, he's like, well, despite all the people backstabbing you and changing the UFO narrative and doing all that, he's like, it might be good to change the guard and get more people working on this shit. I mean, it is wild. So here's the bottom line. All I know about UFOs, they're real, and we've been reverse engineering them for exploitive technologies. We've been doing that. Our government's been doing that. It's been in private industry. They haven't gotten very far. His friend tried to get it transferred to a government program called OSAP, these acronyms. They tried to get it over there so they could open up this egg-shaped UFO. They breached the hull of it. They were able to get inside of it. The head of the DIA UFO program admitted it on our podcast. He straight fucking said it. It's not headline news. Oh, by the way, extraterrestrial technology, we got inside of it. But here's the deal. I think George and I would go to our graves saying, that is true. There's technology, non-human technology, and we've been trying to reverse engineer it and exploit it. In the US, we don't want to admit it. Commander David Fravor said to me, UFOs to the United States, it's like an alcoholic. Until we admit there's a problem, we're never going to be able to deal with it. That's Commander David Fravor, patriot, guarded Los Angeles during 9/11. This guy is straight up like, until we admit it, we're never going to be able to deal with it. That's where we're at right now. So I don't know, like, what is a UFO? What are they? What do they represent to humanity? We talk about Congress and all these lies and the controlling of the narrative. Ultimately, the reason it's in movies, the reason it's in Congress is because of you. Like, that's the reason. The reason is because people see them. I don't know if that's your question, but that's my answer.
I mean, with that huge change, is it people feeling more comfortable sharing their stories now? Is it just becoming more prevalent? Do we have more time to look up? What are maybe the reasons that it's gotten so huge, such as, the drone story?
Yeah, I think that's an element of it, is that the stigma has gone down a notch or two since 2017. Once mainstream media, once the New York Times did that story, other media peeked out of their hole and thought, okay, it's safe to do this. And once mainstream media covered it, members of Congress took an interest, and once they did, it was then suddenly academia, scientists started looking into it, and that's a sea change.
It's your voice, it's you giving a fuck that makes any of this happen. Now, I'm not going to rely everything on Congress. I'm going to rely on George fucking Knapp and journalism. I'm going to rely on Grant. I'm going to rely on us moving this forward. But you are absolutely right. People have to make some noise. But just to make sure you understand, you haven't seen 2 episodes. This is the 3rd episode. That document, right? You should be very aware that on congressional record, they lied. This is important. I did a tweet. I was like, what the fuck? Where's that 12th page? Because I delivered 12 pages. And they faked a page on congressional record. Congress put a fake blank page on congressional record to try to tell you a lie. If you're not curious why they would do that, what happened? Why is everybody lying about a clerical error?
And a bigger question is, why would they not take the opportunity to have that witness testify? He was introduced to them. He offered to be there in person. We keep hearing this. Why not hands-on whistleblower, somebody who's seen this stuff or knows about it with their own eyes and can testify firsthand? Why don't they testify? This guy was ready to do it. Is maybe still ready to do it. And
Not
they
the
didn't.
only.
They didn't make it happen. They didn't pursue it at all. Why not?
I can't. This is too long a conversation.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, George and I tried to provide the best information. They were asking what evidence. It was a 2.5 month long interrogation into George's and my sources and what we could bring in.
Lester.
I'm curious to get your. So, we always hear about this idea that there's the legacy program, right?
Yeah.
As uniquely different, it seems, than Immaculate Constellation.
Yeah.
And so I just want to get your thoughts about why did Immaculate Constellation get created? Like, how do you kind of decipher its creation, which was likely a reaction to like Lou and Chris Mel and all these guys coming forward? I just want to get your thoughts about the existence of it as being unique from the legacy program itself.
Great fucking question. Lester Neri, guys, you got to follow what he did. Like, great fucking question, Lester.
Well, legacy programs, how we use the term, I'm referring to those that are actually dealing with the hardware, that technology, reverse engineering, crash retrieval, maybe the bodies as well, the goods, the goodies. This one is dealing with imagery. It's gathering the best imagery it can find from whatever servers exist. What they're doing with it, I don't know that we actually know what they're doing with it, but it's two different operations sort of under the same umbrella.
Like, amazing question, because here's the deal. So what Lester's asking is, there's been an, I call it legacy architecture. There's been a legacy architecture for 70 to 90 years about you know, you're not supposed to know that we're reverse engineering UFOs of non-human origin. Here's the deal. There was an accidental exposure to the author of Immaculate Constellation. They go in, this story will be told later, but they essentially get all this information and they're like exactly what I would do, right? What happened was, as soon as all of that information came out, Lou Elizondo, the idea, David Grush, right? The legacy architecture, the people that have ownership of the materials was like, oh, we got to get on this. So what they do is they start taking every asset that we have from space to air to sea, and they start saying, even with AI, they start saying, we're going to scrub this, we're going to collect it, we're going to bring it. By the way, I'll just say it right now. Why could Susan Go say that this was not a
DOD.
yeah, a DOD USAP, right? Unacknowledged Special Access Program. Why could they do that legitimately and legally? Because it was out of the White House. So that is the truth about it. So what they did was they collected all the sources from air to space to sea. Now, where that archive is, I don't know, but a lot of it is on massive servers like JWIX and Cybernet and all these classified servers. You have all these UAP, and they're just pulling them, and they bring them in. That's what you learned about.
So
Yeah.
There was clearly an effort to repatriate control over information.
Yeah.
Because of people.
It was response, man. It was response. It was because the whole world's on fire about UFOs. We're going to respond. We're going to collect this data. We're going to control it. And we're going to shape the emerging UAP narrative. That's what you're seeing right now. Again, all the king's horses and all the king's men.
I'd like your perspective on Michael Shellenberger and his potential role in this. And how did he get called as a witness? Who is this guy? And because I've not heard of him before the hearing, but you sure have. You know him better than I do. So I'd like to just hear your thoughts on why was he given credit for the report, and why, and because there's some tie there.
Yeah.
There's, and
It's a fucked up situation, Mark. That's Mark from the Ojai Valley magazine. Good question, Mark. Should I answer this?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
I don't fucking know. I'm having PTSD watching that. Why do you lie about, like, if somebody says to you, oh yeah, I just like put a little mascara on, like, why are you fucking lying? Like, I don't know. You're supposed to be like somebody who's credible, somebody that fights for human rights, for, you know, righteousness against government. Maybe Dan would be better to answer this. I don't fucking know. All I know is that if you lie about something, like a little thing in our business, like me and George, if you knowingly lie, you're bought. So the question is, why do you do that? What are you doing? Can people trust you? I can never walk somebody into a congressional office again and say, hey buddy, you're safe. These are trusted people. Come walk in with me. Everything's okay. I can't do it anymore. I don't know, man. You're gonna have to ask him. I think he needs to explain to you why he lied. I met with him the night before.
And showed him the document.
I don't know if we're gonna put this in our weaponized book, but I did. That's the truth. So, Danny, maybe you could answer this, but
Just to
like,
clarify, he had never seen the document until the night before, the document that Congress gave him credit for submitting.
did you guys understand that in the series, like 2 months before that I took this huge risk and I put somebody else at risk and I said, you can trust these congressional members. And I went into Burchett's office. We gave him a 22-page version of the Immaculate Constellation document. I brought the human being in with us, Ryan. He was embedded in our camera crew, pretending he was our camera crew or just with us. And then I said, hey, Rep Burchett, do you trust me? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm bringing somebody in. All cameras are leaving, just you and me and a guy. And he's like, cool. He trusted me. Then I did it again with Rep Luna. Then I did it again with Nancy Mace. I was trying to see if this whistleblower is going to tell them the same thing they told me. How do I trust this person? Well, if they're telling a congressperson and they're saying they're going to testify and they show them their real name and all the info, all their background, and this is the way I vet people. I know it's crazy to vet people this way, but I vetted them this way. So big picture, right, Mark? You're asking, so I'm going to answer you. Big picture. I was trying to bring first-hand whistleblowers public. George was supposed to testify. He told them what he would offer. I was supposed to testify. As soon as I gave them what I would give them, like the actual, they were trying to get me into a room, man, to see if I had videos and that kind of thing, if George and I had collected stuff. It was a setup, man. It was so weird. So, I don't know. Shellenberger has to answer for himself. Why didn't he correct the record? I'm sitting right there. As soon as Nancy Mace says that, I go, hey, Michael. I yell at him. I go, hey, Michael. She just lied. Are you going to correct the record? I thought they were going to kick me out of Congress. Did you hear me say it, Danny?
Yeah, I did.
I was there. Yeah, I was like, hey, Michael. And he like turned and like a zombie looked back forward. He was part of it, man. Now, what is part of it? I don't know. They're positioning people. They're ordaining people to be the people that speak for this issue. That is, I think, the real story.
I think you're right.
No,
That's the obvious answer here.
It's the obvious answer. I think it's true. I think that there's people in position that they want to shape the emerging UAP narrative, and I think people can be bought, and I think they've testified 17 fucking times to Congress because they're bought. But I don't know. You should ask the human being and not me. I can talk about me. What I know is I fought fucking hard to protect whistleblowers, and I know I'll never trust that system again. I think George can answer this. He has seen this for 40 years. It is being covered up. Why, George?
Why?
Well, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. I don't know that anyone for sure knows the truth. Just, the modern era began right after World War II. We've come out of this terrible war where tens of millions of people died. Suddenly these things start appearing over sensitive installations, and we don't know what they are. Do we really want to tell the public that something that's flying over our most sensitive installations and we don't know where it's from, we can't do anything about it? So I think there was probably a legitimate reason for a cover-up then. And then as time went on, there was a congressional investigator who came to see me in the early 90s because he wanted to go to Area 51 and look around and poke around at EG&G, some of these other companies where the stuff was supposedly stashed. And he said, look, I didn't find what I was looking for, but I'll tell you, I think the cover-up is real, and they are hiding this. And when we get to the bottom of it, some of them are going to go to jail. They're going to go to prison for diverting legitimate national security funds to keep this cover-up going. That's one reason. I think there are probably bigger questions and reasons that I don't know. What the ultimate truth is. We can handle the truth. Again, same thing. We don't know what the ultimate truth is. I don't know anyone who does know what it is. Maybe there are several different answers, several different kinds of non-human intelligence. There are extraterrestrial, interdimensional, time travelers, crypto-terrestrials, ultra-terrestrials, a lot of different names for it. Pixies, fairies, trolls, gnomes. I mean, they take different shapes. The craft take different shapes. They can manipulate our consciousness and our perception of them. We don't know what the hell they are. That's pretty scary, so I think probably the reason for the cover-up started out for good reasons. We're past that now, we're past that.
Mark, I just want to say, so people are being ordained to be put in place to shape the emerging European narrative. And be very direct with you. Like, I might be wrong, all y'all, I might be wrong, but I see it happening. People are being ordained to be put in place to be spokespersons. This is about money. This is about reverse engineering. This is about patents. This is about who's going to get the exploited technology from Lockheed Martin, who has a craft, a UFO, a non-human intelligence craft. Dr. James Lukatsky from the DIA told us so, and it is true. And they're trying to see what corporation they can put it to so they're free from FOIA. It's about money, it's about control, and you're seeing it happen in real time. I don't know what the fuck happened to Congress. It was weird. Should have been a clerical error. But I experienced it, so it's personal. I'm a journalist. I'm trying to tell the truth. Grant experienced it. Grant and Marianne were there in the White House press corps, and they saw it go down. And I warned you it was going to go down. I warned you something was going to be fucked up, right? And here we go. What's happening? Don't know. But I know we're going to report the fuck out of it.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, we will. Who said that? Yeah, me and you.
Go.
That's what's up. Question that. We fucking will.
Let's go and give it up for George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell.
Thank you so much, guys. Okay.
You know, not to beat a dead horse here, but there's a couple of things I think we should review after that Q&A session in the public. A lot of good questions were asked there. For one thing, you know, in my take on what happened in D.C. at that hearing, it was a gift that it played out this way. If that hadn't been done in such a clumsy, heavy-handed way, where they had to flip over their cards and show what's in their hand, it wouldn't have been as obvious. You couldn't make the argument that there's a changing of the guard, there's a new system in place to control the flow of information and to control the narrative. I think they made a terrible error, and it was a gift both to your TV series and to the public understanding this issue.
Yeah, it was fucking dramatic. I mean, what you're talking about, one of the elements you're talking about, is when I raised the question, I was shocked. I was sitting there shocked because this had been months of preparation, guarding and protecting a whistleblower, walking that whistleblower into offices for months prior, hand feeding information all the way along to make sure that nobody got twisted or in trouble. And then to hear Nancy Mace credit Shellenberger for delivering on a congressional record a document that she knew I brought her 2 months prior with the person that authored it. It was so surreal. I was like, this is got to be an error, like, right? Just correct the error because this is important. This is chain of custody. This is me protecting sources. I gave my word how this was going to go down. But what you're referring to, and this one really creeped me out, when she started saying, oh, I want to thank Michael Shellenberger for delivering a 12-page document to Congress, I knew that 12 page was the context page that I put on there. They put 12 pages on the congressional record after I called it out, and it was blank. Congress fabricated a fake 12th page on congressional record. Does that not raise alarms for people?
It's almost hilarious. I mean, in a sense, Representative Mace says, thanks for this 12-page document, when in fact they'd already removed the top page, and it was only an 11-page document. And then the next day, in order to clarify that she didn't make a mistake, they added another page to bring it up to 12. It was preposterous.
Unbelievable. They thought I'd just be silent about, look, and that's just one lie. That's the problem. If we have a system where people are supposed to trust it and they're willing to change reality, just change a basic fact about whistleblowers coming in, what the fuck?
So I see our usual whiners and gripers on various platforms who are saying, this is all about your ego. You want credit for it. It was so much more than that. I mean, we were involved in conversations with the House staff about that hearing for months, about what they wanted to do. They were asking us if we wanted to be part of it and what we could bring to the table. And we were ready to help them with any number of different bits of information and witnesses. You went to the trouble of bringing the guy who wrote the document, the Immaculate Constellation document, into 3 congressional offices. He was really ready to go on the record. He was ready to testify. It didn't happen. That's a big deal.
Right. And so that's where it gets complicated. I was there representing, and look, that was the idea originally, was I was going to testify, and I have no NDAs, I have no allegiances. Like, here's the deal. I was going to say it like it is and bring either people in with me to testify or represent them until they're ready to show their faces. I mean, and then the moment they asked, okay, what do you have physically, tangibly that you could, put on record? The moment I put that to them, it was like this silence, boom, and they get somebody else to testify. I'm like, okay, maybe that's better, right? Another person testifies. But they were trying to get from me names of people that would put them in jeopardy. And I knew, I could feel they did not want them to testify. I even asked them to get a subpoena for somebody, and it became this like dance. They asked that you and I bring assets to show them some stuff we were going to, it was like, I'm not articulating it well, but it was a fucking setup. It was. It was a data collection and information collection campaign. They had no intention of putting the real deal up there, except, we did get Lou, we did get Admiral Gaudet, which is great, and the guy Mike, who is really great. Now Shellenberger did good stuff. What he did was represent the voiceless. It was just the control system in place to shape the narrative that I think is so dangerous. I think it's so dangerous people don't even understand.
The night before the hearing, you showed that document to Michael Shellenberger.
I did.
And it's the first time he ever saw it.
Yeah, he did not have that document. He knows that.
And then the next day, when the committee opens this hearing, they thank him for submitting a document that he'd never seen until the night before.
Yeah. So, and that was the point, was that it's good when people divide and conquer when it comes. I was really happy that this other journalist was talking with the author to get it out through Publica, right? Or Public, whatever his thing is. Yeah. I was really glad. But then the fact you don't correct the record, right? Because I had put in my word that I could protect this individual and walk them into offices. Again, this is before it was even public. The words were public. I don't fully grasp it yet. I could care less. This is not, hey, you turned in my homework. For me, what this is when I give somebody a word, I'm going to protect them. I'm going to do it a certain way. I'm going to get it done this way. And I get absolutely blindsided. And then nobody corrects the record. I can't then say to another whistleblower, hey, I have trusted people. They're not going to shape this. They're going to say it like it is. I'm going to bring you in. Do you see that puts me in a really bad
obviously.
situation?
We interact with whistleblowers all the time.
Yeah.
And trust is a major part of those conversations.
Yeah.
And if this experience has sort of really destroyed our ability to make promises to them that they'd be taken care of. It is not about you getting credit for submitting the document, or you're mad because you're not one of the witnesses to testify. It's not that at all. It's about controlling the narrative, and it's a little frightening about where it's going to go. What comes across to me is there's a power grab, a changing of the guard. If these materials that we're talking about, both the images that were collected by Immaculate Constellation and the metamaterials, crash saucers, those things, the Holy Grail, the goodies, are changing hands from the aerospace companies that have stashed that stuff for decades to the tech and space folks who are coming in with the new Trump administration and who have great influence in Congress. That's a big deal. It's a big story.
Yeah. And I think that is what we're seeing. This does come down to money and power or control over the technology. I know people might not be there yet, but that is the actual functional reality that we're living in, is that we are now being told UFOs are real, that we have obtained technologies, that we haven't gotten very far exploiting them for derivative technologies. So there is a push right now to get that out the back door of places like Lockheed and in these stovepipes of compartmentalization and bring them into industry in a way where they can be really exploited. But whoever gets that's a lot of money. That's a contract. That's patents.
Yeah, I don't want to bash Michael Shellenberger. I don't know the guy. No. I've never talked to him. He seems like a bright guy, and he broke the story on Immaculate Constellation. He got it out there, which is why he's called as a witness for this. But the fact that he did not correct things on the record after he's identified, thank you, Michael Shellenberger, for submitting this document that you had never seen before until the night before, why he didn't correct it. I understand.
He had been informed, obviously, talking with the whistleblower, on enough to write the article, but it was clear as day that, I was fighting to get that in a very trusted way onto congressional record where it wouldn't be manipulated, it wouldn't be rejected, right? It was this months of making sure, hey, because once you do this guy's exposed. I mean, you can't take that back. The last thing hasn't done yet is shown his face, and his real full name, and that's coming. And so that's kind of like, I don't know, man. It's not about correcting the record. It's putting ordained people in place that you're supposed to trust. But I see that sometimes people's ambitions get ahead of protection. And in this world of whistleblowers, you need to be able to protect people. There needs to be chain of custody for trust.
Again, I would say the way that this was so ham-fisted and obvious is kind of a gift, because it allows people to see through the smoke and mirrors here. And as far as if there is, in fact, a changing of the guard, and that the materials that we're talking about are going to be transferred from the old aerospace giants who kept it for all these years and done very little with it into the hands of tech bros, space pioneers, I don't care. I don't have a horse in that race.
Yeah.
If they can exploit it, and if it benefits America, the U.S., great. I'd rather see us get it than the Chinese or Russians, because they're working at it as well.
Yeah, I mean, goddamn, this is a race. This is a race for technology. If we've gotten to the admission now that we have craft, which, you reported on back in 1989, but now that the public is kind of up to date, crash retrievals, the whole thing, that if this is true, which we believe it is, then we're in a race. We're in a race to make sure that we can get the derivative technologies based on this.
Immaculate Constellation, that was a big story.
Yeah.
The hearing, giving it credibility, that's a big story. But there's still more to be told on this. It'd be really interesting to eventually hear directly from the key witness. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a big story to tell there. And I think that people need to hear that to understand the value of what's authored in the Immaculate Constellation official document. Because what that was, just to be really clear, was an individual inspired to tell the truth. And what they stumbled upon was a lot of what we suspected was going on, a data collection program, even using artificial intelligence to siphon off the UAP from all of our military assets, from space to air to sea. That's what Immaculate Constellation, a big part of it was pulling all of that visual data into a place, a repository, so it can be analyzed and understood. So there's a lot to tell about Immaculate Constellation. I think at this point, the world needs to hear directly from the author.
The final thought that the UFO public is a little bit spoiled these days. It seems like every other day there's a new whistleblower coming out with a story about this and that and pieces of video. And, oh my gosh, how do you keep up with all of it? We do it for a job. We can't keep up with all of it. Just caution, words of caution. Take it with a grain of salt. You know how perilous this topic has been, and how the credibility of witnesses ebbs and flows over the years. So I would be cautious in how much credibility anybody gives to a particular whistleblower, including this one, and we'll take it step by step.
That's right. Yeah, I think it takes time to unravel that. So what you're saying to the public is that we need to be paced when new people come forward, because you're going to have disinformation coming as well as good information.
It almost feels like what the basketball term is flooding the zone, there's so much coming out of various degrees of credibility that it's hard for the general public and the UFO public to judge what's real and what isn't.
Yeah, it's kind of chaotic right now, and you don't know where to put your trust. Look, we do our best as journalists to take years to vet people. There are people coming forward that will be working with us, and this isn't like something we learned about last week. These will be people that we've been in contact with for durational periods of time. So if we can achieve that, if there's a climate where that people feel that they need to now come forward by face and name, I'm all for that. We will try our best to make sure that the information we bring forward is of high value.
That theater was pretty cool.
It was a fun situation.
Yeah, thanks to the folks who own that for inviting us there for it.
Yeah, David.
Dave.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see you again.
Okay, thanks, man.
Never have so few had so much to tell, but could say so little.